I stood in the lawyer's office, my hands shaking as Mr. Parton read my mother's will aloud. Every single dollar of her inheritance, the money she'd saved for my college education, was going to Vanessa, my father's new wife. $300,000, gone. This can't be right, I whispered. My father sat beside Vanessa, not even looking ashamed. Vanessa squeezed his hand and smiled that fake smile. I'm sorry, sweetie. Your father thought this was best for the family. Family? I'd only known this woman for 18 months. She'd swooped in 6 months after Mom died. The lawyer cleared his throat. The will was changed 3 months ago, properly witnessed and signed. 3 months ago, when I was away at college. When Dad was vulnerable and Vanessa had him all to herself. I looked at my father, searching for any sign of the man who used to read me bedtime stories. Nothing. You will regret this, I said quietly, standing up. My voice didn't shake, even though my heart was breaking. If you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from. Walking home, I remembered Mom's last words in the hospital. She'd gripped my hand with what little strength she had left. The money is for you, honey. Promise me you'll use it for college. I'd promised. Now that promise was broken because of Vanessa. Mom had been a single mother for most of my life. Dad left when I was 7, came back when I was 16 after his business failed. Mom forgave him because she believed in second chances. She worked as a nurse during the day and cleaned offices at night. Education is the one thing nobody can take from you, she used to say. Now Vanessa had taken it anyway. I thought about how Vanessa had acted during Mom's funeral. Crying just enough to seem caring, but checking her phone during the service. She'd moved into our house 2 weeks later. As I reached our front door, I saw Vanessa through the window. She was on the phone, laughing. When she saw me watching, she smirked and gave me a little wave. That's when I knew she'd planned this whole thing. That evening, I cornered Dad in his study. The room still smelled like Mom's lavender candles, but Vanessa had already started redecorating. Family photos were gone, replaced with expensive art. How could you do this to her memory? I asked. Dad looked up from his computer, annoyed. Your mother left me in charge. I made the best decision for our family. Our family? Vanessa isn't family. She's a stranger. His face hardened. Vanessa has stood by me through everything. She deserves security. Supporting us? She's never worked since she got here. Mom worked herself to death saving that money. Dad slammed his hand on the desk. Your mother's gone. Vanessa is my wife now, and she comes first. Maybe if you weren't so weak and ungrateful, you'd understand. The words hit me like a physical blow. I turned to leave, but Vanessa was standing outside the door. She'd been listening. As I pushed past her, she leaned close and whispered, "You were never really family anyway, sweetie." I came home from work the next day to find all my belongings dumped on the front lawn. Clothes, books, my computer, everything scattered like garbage. Vanessa stood in the doorway, holding new keys. Sorry, honey, but your father and I decided you needed independence. The locks have been changed. My laptop was lying in a puddle from the sprinkler system. 3 years of college work, destroyed. You can't do this. This is my home. Actually, it's mine now. She held up the deed. Your father signed it over last week. For tax purposes. My neighbor Mrs. Miller came outside, shaking her head. This isn't right, dear. But I was too proud to ask for help. I loaded everything into my old Honda and drove to the cheapest motel I could find. Sitting on the stained bedspread, I held Mom's locket, the only thing of value I had left. Inside was a picture of her holding me as a baby. I made a promise to that picture. Vanessa would pay. My childhood friend Den found me at the diner where I'd picked up extra shifts. I was clearing tables when he slid into a booth. Heard about what happened? That's messed up, man. Den and I had grown up next door to each other. His mom had been best friends with mine. I don't know what to do, I admitted. I've got maybe 2 weeks before I'm completely broke. Don't give up yet. There might be something you can use against her. I looked up sharply. What do you mean? Den glanced around nervously. Remember last month when I was doing landscaping? I saw Vanessa coming out of the Marriott with some guy. Wasn't your dad? Are you sure? Positive. She was wearing that red coat. They were holding hands, kissing in the parking lot. The guy was older, maybe 50s, driving a BMW. My heart started racing. If Vanessa was cheating, maybe I could use that information. Would you recognize the guy again? Definitely. Gray hair, expensive suit. Looked like money. For the first time since the will reading, I felt hope. I started following Vanessa the next week, using my break times. She had a routine: shopping in the morning, lunch with friends, then mysterious afternoon trips. On Thursday, I watched her park at the Parkview Hotel downtown. She checked her reflection, applied fresh lipstick, and walked inside. 15 minutes later, a silver BMW pulled up. The man who got out matched Den's description. Gray hair, expensive suit, confident walk. I grabbed my phone and followed them inside, staying far back. The hotel lobby was busy enough that I could blend in. Vanessa was already at the bar, sipping champagne. The man joined her, and they talked quietly before heading to the elevator together. My hands were shaking as I snapped photos through the lobby window. Finally, I had proof that Vanessa wasn't the loyal wife she pretended to be. As I was putting my phone away, I felt eyes on me. I looked up to see Vanessa staring directly at me through the hotel's glass doors. Our eyes met across the lobby, and her expression changed from surprise to cold calculation. I tried to leave quickly, but Vanessa was faster. She cornered me in the parking lot before I could reach my car. Taking pictures, sweetie? How creative. She didn't seem embarrassed or scared. If anything, she looked amused. Dad's going to want to see these, I said, holding up my phone. Vanessa laughed. Oh, honey. You really don't understand how this works, do you? I understand that you're cheating on him. Your father knows exactly what kind of woman I am. He doesn't care as long as I keep him happy. She stepped closer. But if you try to cross me, I'll destroy what's left of your pathetic little life. You already took everything. Not everything. You still have your job, your car, your reputation. I have friends everywhere, sweetie. One word from me, and you'll find out just how small this town really is. I realized she wasn't bluffing. In 18 months, she'd made connections everywhere. People trust me, she continued. I'm the grieving widow who brought your poor father back to life. You're just the ungrateful son. As she walked away, I understood this was bigger than just an affair. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Vanessa's words, trying to figure out what she really meant. The next morning, I got my answer. I was walking past the hardware store when I overheard Mr. Albert talking about Dad. Poor guy's been having money troubles since he remarried. That wife of his has expensive taste. Thought he was doing well with his construction business. Was, until she got involved. Now he's taking out loans just to keep up. I pretended to browse while listening. She's got him wrapped around her finger. Signed over the house, the business, everything to her name. Says it's for tax reasons, but my accountant says that's nonsense. My blood ran cold. Vanessa hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she was taking control of everything Dad owned. When I got home that evening, I heard shouting from next door. The credit cards are maxed out again, Vanessa. It's just temporary, darling. My investments will pay off soon. What investments? You won't tell me anything. Then Vanessa's voice, cold and calm, you'll lose far more than money if you keep pushing me. I spent the weekend researching everything about Vanessa. Her maiden name was Ellert, and she'd been married twice before, information she'd never shared with Dad. Her first husband, Nick Miller, had owned a successful restaurant chain in Ohio. They'd divorced after 3 years, and his business went bankrupt. Nick had disappeared after that. Her second husband, Warren Mills, had been a real estate developer in Florida. Same pattern, marriage, divorce, business collapse, disappearance. Now she was working on Dad. I printed everything and drove to Dad's office. His construction company had been successful for years, but now the parking lot was nearly empty. Dad's secretary, Mrs. Lair, had known me since I was little. She looked relieved when I walked in. Your father's not himself lately, she whispered. That woman calls constantly, demanding money transfers. Yesterday she had him sign papers without reading them. What kind of papers? Business loans, insurance changes, bank account modifications. Everything's going into her name. I showed her my research. Her face went pale. We have to tell him, I said. Mrs. Lair shook her head. I tried last week. He threatened to fire me. The breakthrough came when I was cleaning out Mom's old jewelry box. Hidden behind the felt lining, I found a small key I'd never seen before. Mom had always been secretive about her finances. But this key looked like it belonged to a safety deposit box. I spent 2 days visiting every bank in town before finding the right one. The box was registered under Mom's maiden name, and I was listed as authorized. Inside, I found documents that made my blood boil. Bank statements showing large withdrawals from Mom's account in the months before she died. Medical bills mysteriously paid off by someone else. And most shocking, a letter Mom had written but never sent. If something happens to me, the letter read, investigate Vanessa Ellert. She's been asking too many questions about my finances and has been in my house when I wasn't home. But the most damning evidence was a withdrawal slip for $50,000, supposedly signed by Mom 3 days before she died. I compared it to Mom's real signature. It wasn't even close. Someone had forged her signature. Looking at the handwriting, I realized whose it was. Those same careful loops I'd seen on sympathy cards Vanessa had written. Vanessa had been stealing from my mother while she was dying. I took the forged documents to Mr. Parton. He studied them carefully, his face growing troubled. This is disturbing, he admitted. But I have to ask why you're bringing this to me now. Because I think Vanessa forged my mother's signature and stole money from her account. Mr. Parton set down the papers. Off the record, I had concerns about the will change too. Vanessa was very insistent about the specific wording, and your father seemed reluctant. Reluctant how? He kept asking if there was another way to provide for Vanessa without disinheriting you completely. She was quite firm that it had to be all or nothing. I leaned forward. Are you saying she pressured him? Mr. Parton was quiet for a long moment. Your stepmother has certain photographs that would be embarrassing to several prominent people in town. Including me. My heart stopped. She's blackmailing you? I can't prove anything, but yes. She has compromising information about many people. It's how she's built her influence so quickly. What kind of photographs? He shook his head. The kind that ruin careers and marriages. She's very thorough. I left understanding that Vanessa wasn't just a gold digger. She was running a sophisticated operation. I decided to test Dad's loyalty. I printed copies of the hotel photos and mailed them to him anonymously, along with a note, thought you should know what your wife does while you're at work. 2 days later, I watched from my car as Dad confronted Vanessa in their driveway. Even from a distance, I could see he was furious, waving the photos. But Vanessa was a professional. She dissolved into tears, throwing her arms around Dad and sobbing into his chest. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could see her performance. Dad's anger melted away as he held her. She pulled back, wiping her eyes, and showed him something on her phone. His expression changed from anger to concern, then to protective fury. Vanessa had flipped the script. Somehow, she'd made herself the victim. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Dad's voice was ice cold. "I know you sent those photos. If you ever try to contact me again, I'm calling the police. Vanessa showed me the threatening messages you've been sending her." "What messages?" "I never." "Don't lie to me. She has screenshots. Stay away from us, or I'll get a restraining order." The line went dead. Vanessa had somehow faked text messages from my number. Den found me at the diner the next week, looking worried. "Dude, you need to see this." He showed me his phone, a local Facebook group where people were talking about me. "Heard Vanessa Ellert's stepson has been harassing her," one post read. "Poor woman's been through enough." Another post, "My sister works at the bank. Says he's been asking weird questions about his stepmother's accounts. Sounds obsessed." The comments were brutal. People I'd known my whole life were calling me unstable and dangerous. "She's destroyed my reputation in less than a week," I said. "It gets worse," Den said. He showed me another post from a restaurant manager. "Looking for a new server. Previous candidate was not suitable due to attitude problems. I'd applied there 3 days ago. Vanessa's influence was costing me job opportunities. I found something that might help," Den said quietly. "I've been researching her previous marriages. Both her ex-husbands disappeared after their divorces, but I found one of them." My head snapped up. "What?" "Nick Miller, her first husband. He's living in Oregon now, using his middle name. I found him through his sister's social media." "Did you contact him?" Den nodded. "He's willing to talk, but only on the phone." Nick Miller's voice shook when I called him. "I've been waiting for this call for 6 years," he said. "I knew she'd find another victim eventually." "What happened to you?" "Started the same way yours did. She showed up after my first wife died, all sympathy and support. Within a year, she'd convinced me to put everything in her name for tax purposes. The pattern was exactly the same. Then the affairs started. When I confronted her, she showed me photos of myself that I'd never seen before. Compromising photos taken in my own home while I was sleeping. My stomach dropped. "She drugged you?" "Had to be. I don't remember posing for them, but there I was in pictures that would have destroyed my reputation." "How did she take them?" "Hidden cameras. I found them after she left, in the bedroom, bathroom, home office. She'd been recording everything for months." I thought about the expensive art Vanessa had been installing around Dad's house. "She cleaned out our accounts and disappeared overnight," Nick continued. "Left me with nothing but debt and blackmail photos." "Why didn't you go to the police?" Nick laughed bitterly. "With what proof? She was too smart to leave evidence." "There was another husband after you?" "Warren Mills in Florida." "Same story." Nick's warning echoed in my head as I researched Warren Mills, Vanessa's second victim. Unlike Nick, Warren hadn't disappeared cleanly. According to Florida newspaper archives, Warren had died in a suspicious car accident 6 months after his divorce from Vanessa. The accident report noted that his brake lines had been cut, but no one was ever charged. Warren's sister had fought the insurance payout, claiming Vanessa had murdered him. The case went nowhere due to lack of evidence, but the sister had kept detailed records. The pattern was identical to what was happening to Dad now. First, Vanessa isolated Warren from family and friends. Then she took control of his finances. Finally, when he started asking questions, he died. I called Warren's sister, Beth, from a payphone outside town. "I've been waiting for someone to call about her," Beth said immediately. "Who is she destroying now?" "My father." "How long has she been married to him?" 18 months. "Then you don't have much time." Warren started asking questions after 2 years, and he was dead within a month. My hands were shaking. "She killed him?" "I can't prove it, but yes." The break lines were cut professionally. Beth offered to send me copies of Warren's financial records and police reports. "Be careful," she warned. "If she realizes you're building a case, you could be next." The package from Beth arrived at Den's address 2 weeks later. Inside were bank records, insurance documents, and police reports that painted a terrifying picture. Vanessa had systematically drained Warren's accounts while poisoning his relationships with family and business partners. When Warren hired a private investigator to look into her background, the threat started. The PI had uncovered evidence linking Vanessa to 2 other suspicious deaths, elderly men she'd briefly dated who'd changed their wills before dying suddenly. But the most shocking discovery was fake identity documents. Vanessa Ellert wasn't even her real name. She was actually Lair Brennan, wanted for fraud in 3 different states. "She's planning to disappear again," Den said, studying the documents. "Same pattern every time. Drain the accounts, eliminate threats, then vanish with a new identity." I thought about Dad's deteriorating health over the past few months. He'd been tired, confused, forgetful. We'd assumed it was stress. What if Vanessa was slowly poisoning him too? "We have to act fast," I said. "If she realizes we know who she really is, Dad's in serious danger." Den nodded grimly. "So are we." The evidence was overwhelming, but I knew Vanessa would never let it see daylight. She'd kill us all before allowing her operation to be exposed. The annual charity gala at the country club was Vanessa's biggest social event. She'd been planning it for months, using it to cement her position in local high society. I knew she'd be there, surrounded by all the people she'd been manipulating. If I was going to expose her publicly, this was my only chance. Den helped me prepare. We made copies of all the evidence, the forged bank documents, the photos from Florida, Nick's testimony recorded on video, and the FBI reports about Lair Brennan. "You sure about this?" Den asked as we sat outside the country club. "Once you do this, there's no going back." "She's going to kill him," I said. "If I don't act now, Dad will be dead within a month." The gala was in full swing when I walked in. Vanessa was holding court near the auction table, wearing ever wavered, but her eyes were deadly. "Meet Lair Brennan," I announced, holding up her wanted poster. "Wanted for fraud in 3 states. If you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from." The silence was deafening as I laid out Vanessa's crimes. Photos of forged documents, recordings of Nick's testimony, and police reports about Warren's mysterious death. "This woman has been systematically destroying my father," I said, my voice carrying clearly. "Just like she destroyed her previous husbands." The crowd was riveted, but Dad looked like he was going to collapse. Vanessa kept her composure perfectly, even smiling slightly as I presented the evidence. When I finished, she took the microphone calmly. "This is exactly what I warned you about," she said to Dad, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Your son has been harassing me for months, making up elaborate stories because he can't accept our marriage." She turned to the crowd with tears in her eyes. "I've tried to be patient with him, but this obsession has gone too far." Murmurs rippled through the room. Some people looked convinced by her performance. "Everything he's shown you tonight is fabricated," she continued. I have evidence of his threats, his stalking behavior, his attempts to break into our home. Dad stepped forward, his face red with anger. How dare you embarrass Vanessa like this? Security. As the guards approached, Vanessa leaned close to me. You just made your father hate you forever, she whispered. And now you've signed your own death warrant. I sat in my motel room that night, convinced I'd ruined everything. Dad would never speak to me again, and Vanessa was probably already planning my accident. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You were right about everything. We need to meet. The message came with a photo, one of the shots I'd taken of Vanessa at the hotel. My heart raced. Her affair partner had been at the gala tonight. We arranged to meet at a 24-hour diner outside town. The man who walked in matched my photos exactly, gray hair, expensive suit, nervous energy. My name's Walter Hendricks, he said, sliding into the booth. I own Hendricks Financial downtown. You're having an affair with Vanessa. Walter winced. Was. Past tense. After what you revealed tonight, I realized she's been using me too. How? She convinced me to transfer money from client accounts into what she called offshore investment opportunities. Said it was completely legal. My stomach dropped. How much money? $2 million over the past year. Money that belongs to my client's retirement funds. She was using you to commit embezzlement. Walter nodded miserably. If this comes out, I'll lose my license and probably go to prison. But after tonight, I understand she's been planning to disappear and leave me holding the bag. Walter reached into his briefcase and pulled out a key. This opens Vanessa's private office in the storage facility on Maple Street. Den and I met Walter at the storage facility at 2 a.m. The place was deserted, just rows of metal buildings under dim security lights. Unit 247 looked like any other storage unit from the outside, but inside it was like a criminal's war room. File cabinets lined the walls, labeled with names I didn't recognize. A computer sat on a desk surrounded by multiple phones and fake identity documents. Opening one of the file cabinets. She's got dirt on half the town. The files contained photographs, financial records, and personal information about dozens of people. Judges, police officers, business owners, politicians, anyone with power or money. Walter found the financial records. Here's proof of the embezzlement scheme. She's been running it through 6 different shell companies. I discovered something even worse. Detailed plans for Dad's murder, including research on untraceable poisons and methods for staging accidents. She's going to kill him next month, I said, reading through her notes. Right after the insurance policies mature. In another file, I found evidence of at least 5 previous murders, all made to look like accidents. We have enough to put her away forever, Den said. But as we were photographing everything, we heard a car door slam outside. Footsteps approached the storage unit. Someone's coming, Walter hissed. The footsteps stopped right outside our door. We froze as the footsteps paused outside the storage unit. Through the crack under the door, I could see a shadow. Then the footsteps continued past our unit toward the main building. Security guard, Den whispered. Making rounds. We waited 5 minutes before continuing. The evidence was overwhelming: bank records, murder plans, blackmail files, and insurance fraud documents. There's enough here to prosecute her for murder in multiple states, Walter said. I found the most damning evidence in a file marked, Current Project, detailed surveillance photos of Dad's daily routine, medical records showing his recent blood work, and research on a poison that mimics heart attacks. She's been drugging him, I realized, looking at Dad's medical records. His liver enzymes are elevated, exactly consistent with chronic poisoning. Den found something that made my blood run cold: a plane ticket to the Cayman Islands, booked for next week under the name Donna Collins. She's planning to run, he said. After Dad dies. In the computer, Walter discovered Vanessa's complete financial network. She'd stolen over $15 million from her various victims, all funneled through offshore accounts. "We need to get this to the FBI tonight," Walter said. "If she runs, we'll never catch her." But as we prepared to leave, I heard something that made my heart stop. A key turning in the lock. Vanessa stood silhouetted in the doorway, holding a gun pointed directly at us. "Put the camera down, sweetheart," Vanessa said calmly, keeping the gun trained on me. "And step away from my files." We had no choice but to comply. She'd caught us completely off guard. "You know, I'm almost impressed," she said, glancing around at the evidence we'd uncovered. "Most people never get this close to the truth." "The FBI already has copies of everything," I lied. Vanessa laughed. "No, they don't. You've been very careful to keep this investigation secret. Just the three of you playing detective." She was right. We'd been so focused on gathering evidence that we hadn't involved law enforcement yet. "Here's what's going to happen," she continued. "You're going to have a tragic accident. 3 men discovered breaking into a storage facility, killed by the owner defending her property." "People know we're here," Den said. "No, they don't. Walter told his wife he was working late. Den told his roommate he was visiting his girlfriend. And nobody knows where poor homeless Ione sleeps these days. She'd been watching us, planning this confrontation." "I have one question," I said. "Why Dad? He doesn't have as much money as your other victims." Vanessa's smile turned cold. "Your father was never about the money. He was about your mother." My blood turned to ice. "What? She was supposed to die 2 years ago, not 18 months. You see," Vanessa continued, "your mother figured out what I was doing. Found my real identity, started asking questions. So I had to accelerate the timeline." My hands were shaking with rage. "How?" "Overdose of her pain medication. Easy to hide with a terminal cancer patient. The doctors never questioned it." Den's phone suddenly started ringing, the sound echoing in the metal storage unit. Vanessa's eyes flicked toward the sound for just a second. That's when I realized Den was recording. His phone had been streaming live to social media the entire time. "You might want to check your notifications," Den said calmly. Vanessa kept the gun pointed at us but pulled out her phone with her other hand. Her face went pale as she saw the thousands of viewers watching our confrontation in real time. "You little..." she started to say, but sirens were already wailing in the distance. "I started streaming when I heard you coming," Den explained. "Every word you just said has been broadcast live. Including your confession to murdering his mother." Vanessa's calm facade finally cracked. "No. You can't. FBI is probably already tracing the offshore accounts," Walter added. "This is over, Lair." She backed toward the storage unit entrance, but police cars were already surrounding the facility. Red and blue lights flashed through the darkness. "Police! Drop your weapon." Vanessa looked trapped, desperate. For a moment, I thought she might shoot us anyway. Instead, she turned and ran. The next morning, I sat in the police station watching Vanessa's arrest on every news channel. The live stream had gone viral overnight, reaching millions of viewers worldwide. Lair Brennan, also known as Vanessa Ellert, was arrested following a dramatic confrontation that was broadcast live on social media, the news anchor reported. The FBI has confirmed she's wanted in connection with at least 5 murders across multiple states. Detective Sandro interviewed me for 3 hours, gathering details about Mom's death and Dad's poisoning. They'd already rushed Dad to the hospital, where doctors were working to flush the toxins from his system. "He's going to recover," the detective assured me. "You saved his life." Den's live stream had generated over 50 million views and led to tips from victims across the country. The FBI was investigating cases going back 15 years. Walter was cooperating fully with authorities, helping them trace the stolen money through Vanessa's network. Most of it would be recovered and returned to victims. "What about my inheritance?" I asked. "Since the will was signed under duress and your stepmother has been arrested for fraud, the original will is being reinstated. Your mother's money will be returned to you." But the money wasn't what mattered anymore. What mattered was that Dad was alive and Vanessa could never hurt anyone else. Late that afternoon, I finally got to see Dad in the hospital. He looked weak but alert. "I'm sorry," he said as soon as I walked in. "I should have listened to you. If you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from." 6 months later, I stood in the courthouse as the judge read Vanessa's sentence. Life in prison without parole for 5 counts of murder, plus additional charges for fraud, theft, and attempted murder. She showed no emotion as the verdict was read, but her eyes found mine across the courtroom. Even now, she was calculating, planning. "She'll never get out," the prosecutor assured me afterward. "We have evidence linking her to crimes in 12 states. Dad had recovered completely once the poison cleared his system. He'd sold the construction business and was using the money to start a scholarship fund in Mom's name. I want to honor her memory properly," he told me. "Help other kids get the education she wanted for you." The house was being sold too. Neither of us could live there after everything that had happened. Den's live stream had made him internet famous. He was using his platform to raise awareness about elder abuse and fraud schemes. Walter had lost his financial license but avoided prison by cooperating with authorities. He was working as an accountant for a nonprofit now. As for me, I was finally starting college. 2 years late, but with a full scholarship and my mother's inheritance restored. Standing outside the courthouse that day, I thought about Mom's last words. She'd wanted me to make something of myself. I planned to keep that promise. Vanessa's reign of terror was over, her victims were getting justice, and the people she'd tried to destroy were healing. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the playlist now.